Hi there, it's Nichol Spohr and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to do a little Christmas in July, this last day of July 2021 with the Hero Arts pre-holiday release. I have 3 cards to share with you featuring all new stamps and dies from the release. First up, I have the Buffalo Check pattern bold print, which is probably one of my very favorites just because it's so versatile. This would be fantastic for fall themed cards as well. I can see this in so many different colorways. I am going to be stamping this with VersaFine ONYX black ink on Hero Hues Palm cardstock, cherry cardstock, and Lawn Fawn paper bag cardstock. So all 3 backgrounds are exactly the same. They are just on a different color base. I really wanted to show how this looked just with simple stamping on a different color cardstock background. Like I said, this is probably one of my very favorite products from the release just because it's super versatile, can be used all fall and winter long to create those beautiful plaid backgrounds. While I have the Buffalo Check pattern bold print in my MISTI, I am stamping all the backgrounds at once. Then we are going to work our way through the 3 main stamp sets I'm using, and I'll also be using some sentiments from another brand new set. Every single product every single stamp and die in this video that is Hero Arts is brand new. These are all available right now. The remainder or the big release is mid-August, so definitely come back here next month. I will be participating in that and sharing even more projects. At the end of the video, I am going to walk you through all of the pre-release products. I know some of them have sold out at Simon Says Stamp. Just because I think everybody's excited and getting ready for the new holiday release, all the fall and winter releases. But I will show you every product I used for the cards today, and I'm going to walk you through all of the pre-release products as well. So those are my 3 backgrounds. We are going to start with our red and black Buffalo Check background and this awesome Holly Berries stamp set. I am showing these in the order I did them. I'm probably not showing them in the order of my favorites. The last card today is going to be my favorite. I did not think it was going to be, and it ended up being my favorite. However, this is probably a very close second. So this is, like I said, the Holly Berries. I stamped the main large branch image first with Lawn Fawn Jellyfish No Line Coloring ink. I have talked about this in some of my recent live videos here on my channel, but I am using the Karin Brushmarker Pro markers for no line coloring. Very similar to how I would use Zigs or Tombos. I am not bringing any water into these, even though they do react beautifully with water. I wanted to just kind of test them out today as far as kind of my preferred and favorite way of no line coloring, just to see how they worked. I did stamp and color this, on Bristol Smooth cardstock, which is the same cardstock I use for Zigs and Tombos if I'm doing a no line coloring for the most part. Always for Zigs, for the most part for Tombos. And I really loved the results. I feel like these, for me, they bleed outside the line a little bit more, so I tried to use a super light hand. And if you're going to color right next to an area you have already colored, I would suggest not, because if it's still wet, it'll bleed into that section a little bit, which I did have that happen, not on any of these, but I had stamped the Christmas rose. After I had colored all of these, I had stamped it again just to try a different colorway, and I actually ruined it, so I didn't finish it because the colors bled. So that's just kind of a little FYI. I am using the blender that comes in the Karin Brushmarker set and using it to blend out. I felt it worked pretty good. I will say that I think that these pill the paper a little bit. Tombos tend to pill the paper if you go over them too many times. These will pill the paper a bit as well. I don't really think I had too much issue, not with this image for sure. I didn't have too much of an issue with that, but a little. So that's just another little note there. But the marker tips, they are superior. I will say that. They are really, really nice. I found I love coloring with them. I just need more practice. So this was a fantastic project for practice, and I ended up really loving it. You'll notice for the holly berries, I went in with my cocoa marker and added some detail, like little teeny tiny little lines or little, just kind of the tip of my marker. I made sure and waited a few minutes. I colored some other things before coming back and adding that detail in, because I want to make sure it's dry so that marker is not bleeding into the red. These all have coordinating dies. The holly berries has 3 sentiments in the set, 4 floral images. This large branch here, I will also be stamping and coloring 2 small little leaf clusters. There is another teeny tiny little leaf cluster I did not use. I am using Happy Holly Days, the sentiment from this set on my card. There's also Merry Berry Christmas and a holly-filled hello. I think these are amazing sentiments. I love how they really tie into the stamp set. It is a really, really good one. If you love Christmas florals, this is a beautiful, beautiful stamp set. We're just going to finish coloring in the leaves. I kind of just started at the top and worked my way down. And as I worked my way down, then I was like, well, maybe I should start kind of coloring everything that's going to be olive black and olive green all at once. I didn't quite get there, but I would do a few at a time once I decided that, yes, I did like this. One little note, I used red and pale rose for my berries, and I didn't love it. I felt like it was just a little too pinky. So there's actually a little pilling right there. I went back over it with burgundy and a blender to deepen and darken a few of the berries, and I'm even going to do this more. And then I switched completely to burgundy for outlining, a little red, and then the pale rose. And I liked that a little bit better. The burgundy does add just a little deeper, darker touch. So here I'm going to go back in and add that extra dark color, especially down near the base. And I'm being really careful. I'm basically just touching the tip of my marker to those areas. But don't you think that looks a little bit better? I liked the color. It's a little richer. And I think it goes with our background cardstock color a little better. Now, I think this image would be beautiful on any of the 3 backgrounds we just stamped. I did pick the red and black buffalo check for this one. Really, any of the images we're coloring today would look pretty on any of these backgrounds. I kind of obviously went with a more traditional palette. Our first 2 cards are going to be very traditional red and green, and then our last one is going to be more of that rustic look with that paper bag background with the black buffalo check. And then it's going to have like the birdhouse and the birds. That's the one I'm telling you that I think might be my favorite. Those birds, oh my goodness. I love the bird images and I love the birdhouse, but I think the color choices for that one, when we get there, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and how I came to those colors, really make them. So we are almost finished coloring in this beautiful holly berries image. I will take the coordinating die and die cut this. And then we need to figure out the placement for our card. And it's about the time that I die cut this and I laid out my sentiments that I realized I think I'm going to like a little additional floral down below. That's why I pulled in a couple more images from the Holly Berries stamp set. And then of course, I want to make sure that anything that I hadn't already added the burgundy marker to, I'm doing so now. And then cocoa is what I use to just kind of give detail to the berries. So if I've missed that, I'm going to go ahead and add that just with the tip of my marker. I'm not using it to color per se, but just kind of touching the marker. I did deepen and darken a few little spots on my leaves. I think I used the sandstone, which is kind of a brown color marker. We'll be using that a lot more in the third card as well. And then I blended out with my green. Again, there was a bit of pilling here. I kind of forgot that. Just when you go back over some of the colored areas with these markers, the paper will pill a bit. Probably would have been better if I'd taken water to this rather than a marker. That might have been better. Now I want to distress my background a bit, but I think we'll stamp our sentiment first, and then we will add some additional distressing just for added interest. Because I stamped this on white cardstock and I die cut it with, obviously it's going to have a white outline. I'm not going to fussy cut this. This is definitely with like the pine branches. This is nothing I would ever fussy cut. I want to pull in as many white accents as possible to tie it all together. I am not going to leave a white border around this. I want to use the entire 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch panel. Because of that, I'm using white embossing powder for sentiments, and then we're going to use white cardstock for our second sentiment. This sentiment again is from Holly Berries, the stamped and embossed one. I'm using a paintbrush to remove any little stray embossing flakes. So white embossing, white sentiment strip, white paint splatter, and then finally some white snowflake embellishments. And I think that really kind of balances it out nicely, where it's not quite so glaring that it has that white border all the way around. And the focus is on my embossing powder instead of my project, but hey, okay. It was zoomed in pretty tight. And there is my happy holidays. I love this. I love how the white looks on the red and black background. This is going to be super, super pretty. Now, the second sentiment, I am mixing and matching. I am taking a phrase from the also brand new Christmas Holidays Stamp and Cut. We are picking Hope Your Holiday is Filled with Joy. And it's pretty long. This Stamp and Cut, so it's made to work with 2 die cut sentiments that really take up a ton of real estate on your card, which is awesome. There's Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. It's a beautiful font. I'll kind of show you that at the end when I'm recapping all of the products from the pre-release. But you can also use them separately. You can use them with other stamped or die cut sentiments or whatever you like. There's a whole bunch of sentiments in this and I really, really love it. So I've got a box to protect my work surface that I added a little white picket fence distress paint. I did not water this down at all, and I'm simply taking my paintbrush and tapping all over to give white splatter all over this background, and then I'm going to set this aside to completely dry. I actually went ahead and colored the other cards. You can kind of see it over there on the right. And then I put this together. And then of course my additional pieces right here. So you can kind of see how that balances it out. I love those. And then the sentiment strip is going to overlap those just a little bit. This was stamped with that black VersaFine ONYX black ink. We're popping it up with foam adhesive strips. I love that. I think it just ties in so nicely. And then we're going to finish with some of the little white snowflakes. Anything hanging off the edge, I'm going to trim away with my scissors. And I'm going to adhere this to a white top fold card base. I'm using white top fold card bases for all 3 of my cards today. And remember, the card background completely fits the front of an A2 sized card base. For our second card, this is the beautiful Christmas rose image. So this is the one I really kind of kicked around. I wanted to do white flowers, and I even tried several different ways of, quote unquote, coloring white flowers, and I didn't love it. So I Googled Christmas rose, and there are some pink ones. So I ended up doing kind of a reddish pink Christmas rose. I think I really would have loved white, but I just couldn't get the no-line coloring to what I thought looked good. So I went with the pink instead. I do really like this. This is rose pink, pale pink, and a blender. And then we're using lime green and sulfur yellow for the center of the flower, and then the little stamen and things like that. So kind of Google things if you aren't exactly sure how you want to color them. Obviously, there's no right or wrong. Color them whatever color you want. I just know I was kind of at a loss what I wanted to do here, and so I will Google things. I also Googled how to color robins, Christmas robins, and so that's how I got my color combination for the last card as well. That's one of my favorite little hacks. Somebody asked me, it seems like it's been a few weeks ago, just like, how do you know how to color things? Sometimes if I kind of am unsure or I'm struggling with a color combination, I will Google that image and I take a real life image and I'm like, okay, what marker colors or colored pencils or watercolor do I have that would be similar to this? And I kind of build from there. This image is going to be colored very similar to the first one. Again, it's one big floral image. I know I ended up adding 2 smaller ones to the first card. This card is only going to be this one large image, and then we have multiple images, I believe like 5 for our third card. Because of this image, because of the way it's designed and how I laid it out on the card, I'm not going to center my stamped and embossed sentiment. We're actually going to shift it over to the left just a tiny bit. And I think it just flows a little more natural. We're going to use another long sentiment strip, again stamped from that Christmas holiday Stampin' Cut. All of my small phrases on white cardstock are from the Christmas holidays Stampin' Cut. To get a perfectly die cut sentiment strip, I did not share this in the video. I did use my favorite Simon Says Stamp sentiment labels dies. You can totally use a paper trimmer if you want to, or any kind of sentiment strip that you might have. I know tons of companies have something similar. I personally use that sentiment labels die collection on almost every card. Anything that has a sentiment strip has probably been die cut with that. It is my most often used die. It's just a fantastic basic. And this is kind of funny, but I was thinking to myself this last week, why do I even put this away? Why don't I just leave it out on my desk? I really think I have a little magnetic paw that I got from an awesome Etsy shop. She sent it to me. I'll link it down below, but it is a great little magnet, and I think I should just keep my most often used strips on that. I don't know, but I think it would be a good idea because I wouldn't have to run and get that set out every single time because it feels like I use it constantly. There's a bit of pilling here. I think I'm able to, disguise it as best as possible. Probably for me, that's the thing I like least about these markers, and it's probably just going to take practice. Most things like this just require more practice, and I haven't used them enough. So I'm going to try to use them more. My friend Callie uses these, and so I have really, she kind of encouraged me to try them. And so I'm just going to give them a go. I like all coloring mediums, but there's usually a bit of a learning curve. And then I love the blender. It does work great. You just don't want to go over things too much. We'll finish coloring this in. These are pretty detailed. I know a lot of you love your floral sets, and these are really, really beautiful. There's just so much good stuff. I know for sure one of my very favorite things from the release. So the pre-release only released one of these. It's a looking glass die set, which you guys know I'm a huge fan of. I love the looking glass dies. So when the whole release comes out, my video is going to be on all the looking glass dies. That's a little hint. There's several new ones, and I will be doing a video showing all kinds of holiday cards with those because I love, love, love them. I think they're so amazing. I'm gonna skip now. I went ahead, I'd already colored and die cut my Christmas rose. I'm gonna take the green and the craft backgrounds and splatter those with the picket fence white distress paint and set those aside to completely dry while I color the images for the Christmas robin set, which is the birdhouse, the birds, and the greenery. So that's kind of the timeline here. I know I've skipped around just a tiny bit, but I wished I had splattered the backgrounds before, all of them before finishing my coloring. You'll notice though, I did not stamp and emboss my sentiments yet, and that's totally okay. As long as the paint is completely dry, you can do that later, which is what I'm going to do. These were created truly over several days, not all at once. So there is some inconsistency probably with the steps, and there was quite a bit of drying time. So here are those little white snowflake accents that I was talking about with the first card. I'm going to show that now. I love those. I think they really just kind of give a bit more of a white presence. So then we're going to go ahead and take the Christmas rose, and I'll show you that on our green background. And then I noticed I forgot to add some flower petal detail to the small red flower like I had done for the top one, so I went ahead and did that. Always a good thing to take another look at your image. And that one, I'm just gonna kind of play around and tip it around and see what I think is best as far as placement. So let's go ahead and color in our Christmas robins. This is the one that I'm telling you I think became my favorite card. The colors of the robins is completely influenced by an image I found on Google just from doing a search, and I love, love, love them. So we're gonna start with the birdhouse first. This is cocoa, and sandstone. I'm tracing out the birdhouse with cocoa. That is a pretty light, I'm not gonna go very heavy with this. It's more just an outline. And then I'm gonna blend out with sandstone and then finish blending with the blender. And I feel like this just gives the perfect little rustic birdhouse look. Part of the reason I chose not to do a colorful birdhouse, you can see that it's got like little greenery and berries all the way around the opening of the birdhouse. So I didn't want to do green. I didn't want to do red. Red was probably what I would have been inclined to color this. But because of the images on the birdhouse, I thought a natural wood look would look a lot better. So that's what I went with. Now there's going to be a few places, because we're doing no line coloring, that I should have pulled more brown color through, like little pine branches. So you'll notice throughout the rest of my coloring of this birdhouse that I may have to add a bit more color like I did right here, and then blend that out. So that's sandstone and the blender. And then I want to make sure that that dries all the way before I take my marker over the top of that for the branches. For the little leaves, I'm using olive black and olive green. And I noticed some places I missed, so that's kind of what you're seeing here, is just me fixing those areas. So those are going to be all the little greenery. I'm going to do all the leaves while I'm kind of waiting for the birdhouse area to dry. We're just going to trace all of those out at once. Here's a little bit of the olive green and then the blender to blend that out. Starting to take shape. I love this. And while I'm letting that dry, before I touch any red to my birdhouse, I want to make sure it's dry. So I'm going to do some branches, again, olive black and olive green. I'm using this little branch here, and then another little branch. There's some bells that would be cute hanging from the birdhouse. There is actually 3 birds. I'm using 2 of the 3. There's 3 sentiments. The sentiment I'm using for both the Christmas rose, the card we just did, and this card are from the Christmas robins. So we're using Merry Christmas on this one and Good Tidings to You on the Christmas rose. After I finished the greenery, I went ahead and went back because the birdhouse was pretty well dry and colored in the berries with burgundy and red. We're going to also do that for the branches. And then I'm taking olive black and drawing in like the little pine branches right over the top of the brown coloring. How stinking cute is that? Adding a little black and then blending it out with the blender to the inside of the birdhouse finishes it off perfectly. I really, really like that. We're going to give a little black roof here to our birdhouse. It is covered in snow, which we will achieve with a light gray marker and a blender, and we're not going to color all of that in. Same goes for the little bit of snow along the base of the birdhouse, which we will come back to when that black coloring is all the way dry. So adding those berries, so cute. And you notice I saved the birds for last because I needed to look up an image and decide what I wanted to do there. Here's the snow with our neutral gray and a blender. I'm basically just kind of tracing out the snow very lightly with my tip, and then I'm going to blend out just a tiny bit. I'm not even really coloring in the whole section. And there is our birdhouse all finished. So the color combination that was for me unexpected, but I felt like was very successful, is copper brown and almond. This is the kind of orangey brown color you get for the chest area of the birds. So we will be doing that on both of the birds. And then for the remainder of the bird, it's going to be cocoa and sandstone, which is what we used for the birdhouse. And then a little bit of a warm gray color for the underbelly of the bird. Copper brown and almond will also be used for the beak. And then they have cute scarves around their necks, which I love. We will be coloring those in with combinations of red and green to tie in to our cards. So we'll kind of come back to that. The legs of the bird will be the cocoa and sandstone as well. For the birds, we will need to take a black fine tip pen and draw the face detail back in to really make those shine. I just love the copper brown and almond. I took a chance with those. I wasn't sure, but I have a swatch sheet for the Karin markers, and I just said, you know, I think these are going to be closest to the picture I see on Google. And so I went with it, and it just really worked out well. I love when that happens. And then again, here's that little bit of gray with the blender for the underbelly of the bird. And felt like I needed to darken the feet just a bit. For the scarves, one is going to be red with green stripes, one is going to be green with red stripes. Same colors all the way through. Burgundy and red is the red color combination. Olive black and olive green is our green color combination. We will die cut then all 5 of these images with the coordinating dies that come with the Christmas Robins set. And then we're going to hang our birdhouse from the top of our card with a little bit of twine. Got to color in the rest of these little stripes on our scarf. I'm taking my black pen now and making sure that I have the eye detail in place. I did wait to do that till after I had die cut my images. And then we're going to be popping up our birdhouse with foam adhesive. So because I'm going to pop it up, I went ahead and stamped and embossed my sentiment first. And then I'm taking a piece of Lawn Trimmings hemp twine, and I'm going to secure it to the back of my birdhouse with foam adhesive. So I'm just going to secure that. I can trim the ends a little bit. I made a loop with it because I wanted it to be hanging from 2 strands. Like it has a loop on the top of the birdhouse that's over the branch. That's kind of my thinking here. And then I'll cover the back here with some foam adhesive squares. Snip off those ends. And then we're going to wrap this around the back of the card panel and then secure it with a little tape. You could also pop up the entire panel with foam adhesive. A lot of times if I have twine or something a little thicker around the back of my panel, I will do that. I did not today because the panel is A2 sized, it'll fit in the envelope better if the entire thing is not popped up. So here I'm just wrapping it around to the back, and I'm gonna put some adhesive, and that really didn't work so super great. I left that in there because, you know, I like to be real with you guys and let you know what doesn't work. So I'm gonna take my card base, and I'm actually gonna put the adhesive all over the front of my card base, and then just kind of smash my card front on here. You could use some liquid adhesive if you wanted to as well. So I'm just kind of positioning that, and that is perfect. I love this little birdhouse. What do you guys think? What is your favorite product from the release? I know I'll be showing you the pre-release. I would love to hear in the comments what you love, what you want to see maybe a video on, so drop me a note and let me know for sure. Here is the sentiment from our home to yours. I knew I was going to use this with the Merry Christmas because of the little birdhouse home. I thought that was perfect. I am going to tuck some of the greenery on each side of the birdhouse, and then we will place one of the birds kind of sitting right there on the bottom edge of the birdhouse, and the other bird's going to be like landing on the roof. These are just beautiful images. Hero Arts just continues to knock it out of the park. I always love the fall and holiday release. I don't know about you guys, but I sure do. The greenery was mostly adhered directly to the background. I know I kind of tucked the branch over there on the left, so part of it's on top and part is back behind, but I didn't really use any foam adhesive on that piece. But there is foam adhesive on the back of the bird landing on the roof, and then a little liquid adhesive on his feet to secure those right there. Okay, let's take a peek at all of the products. Oh, and I guess I have some little snowflakes, so maybe I'll do that first. But then I'm going to walk you through all of the new products used for these cards and all of the other products from the pre-release that I did not use in this video. Just kind of give you a nice look, close-up look at everything that is new. And please drop me a note. Let me know what your favorite new product from the pre-release is. I would love to know. So here is our Holly Berries card with the Holly Berries stamps and dies. And the Christmas Holidays Stampin' Cut. Ignore my typo there on my label. I have to fix that. And the Buffalo Check Pattern bold print background. For our Christmas Robins, we again have the Buffalo Check Pattern bold print background, the Christmas Holidays Stampin' Cut for the sentiment label, and our Christmas Robins stamp set with the coordinating dies. And finally, we have our Christmas Rose. The sentiment is from the Christmas Robins set, The Good Tidings to You, one of the sentiments. The Christmas Rose is from the Christmas Rose stamps and coordinating dies. We have our Christmas Holidays Stampin' Cut for our sentiment label, and of course the Buffalo Check Pattern bold print. Now the other new products, so I'm going to grab those. Another bold print. This is the Snowy Rooftops bold print. I love that. The Elegant Window Fancy die. The Looking Glass dies that I was talking about. This is the Winter Forest. some beautiful large snowflakes and swirls, and the awesome Slimline Christmas and New Year cover plate, which is incredible. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for these brand new pre-holiday release Hero Arts Christmas cards featuring all brand new products from the holiday 2021 release. The supplies I use to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here is another video featuring Hero Arts products that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you guys so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.